And good evening. Hey, everybody. Let's give it that background there. Good to have you on here. I guess we didn't have the lead up, but you are listening to the House of Cards tonight. It is great to have everybody here. Thank you again for listening to Big Patriot Radio and the House of Cards.
Introducing to you.
You're on House of Cards, live on Facebook and YouTube.
It's going down now.
Locked and loaded with the truth.
And it is February 20th, 2025. I'm Mike Covert, your host for tonight, coming to you live from the Big Patriot Radio studios in Bluffton in the great state of South Carolina. Welcome to everyone watching on Facebook, YouTube, and supposedly Instagram. Not sure that one's iffy. How that's working. First time for Instagram. And also to those listening around the world on bigpatriotradio.com. Last week, we had a problem. We had an update. Didn't realize it that one of the background programs that makes all this happen does these updates. And we had an update, and it didn't take on the simulcast software. So we had to get that fixed. Anyway, it's all fixed. We're simulcasting live on bigpatriotradio.com. Thank you to those that have been with us since day one. We appreciate you. We also appreciate you if this is your first time. Thanks for coming out tonight. Don't forget, down below you see the little banner going by there. If you're on Facebook, help us out. To help the show, donate some stars on Facebook. You can see them there on the page. Stars are very inexpensive. Also want to thank those folks who support the show with $5, $10 to our Venmo account there on the bottom. That's keeping this thing free, getting new programming and keeping everything up to date and the licenses and all that good stuff. Anyway, stars is the big deal in the social media world. So check them out. Yes, Facebook gets something out of it, but that's okay. We don't want to take that away from them. But most of all, share this stream. Share the Facebook page, like the page, like the YouTube page, share it. And once those get bigger, they will produce income on their own. And people will be able to see and know about the show rather than getting all of the different email blasts or what have you. Let's see. Last week, number one song was When the Lights Go Out by Jason Aldean. And Hilton Head Island was far and above, clearly the number one top listening city with Beaufort, the city of Beaufort and Lexington, South Carolina, rounding out the top three.
Let's go!
The station that keeps it rocking 24/7.
Ladies and gentlemen,
BigPatriotRadio.com.
You might want to call your neighbors and friends and family and let them know about this show tonight. Normally we talk a lot, and that's the premise of the show is really politics, conservative politics, but all politics local and state for the majority. Once in a while, we'll throw something in there having to do with federal, national politics, but not too often because we get our daily dose of that way too much on the television and across our screens. But tonight, different story. Tonight, we're throwing politics to the side. Amber Alert. Do you know what that stands for? Amber Alert. It stands for America's Missing Broadcast Emergency Response. That's the AMBER. America's Missing Broadcast Emergency Response. I want to talk to you about Amber Alert guidelines. They're issued by the U.S. Department of Justice. Now, I actually thought that it was each state's individual version. Each state that has like a SLED, our version of SLED, that did that, but it's not. Now, there are state guidelines with Amber Alerts, but it's administered over an umbrella by the Department of Justice. So there are mandatory items or boxes that need to be checked for an Amber Alert to be issued. And it's important that we know what these boxes, as they say, what they are, what they include. Child's age, number one, must be under 17. Danger. The child is in immediate danger of serious bodily harm or death. Abduction. Law enforcement believes an abduction has occurred. Information. And by the way, we want to hear from you tonight in your comment section, no matter where you're listening and watching, type away. We want to hear from you. Information. There has to be enough information about the child, the abduction, and the suspect, if any, to try and locate them. NCIC. The child's information has to have been entered in the NCIC, which is the National Crime Information Center system. Some states have their own. Georgia has one. It's the GCIC. I don't know if South Carolina has their own. I don't think so. I think they just go with the NCIC. Runaway. The child is not a runaway. And family abduction. The child was not abducted as a result of a family abduction. Okay. Now, those are the requirements for an Amber Alert from the Department of Justice. Now, every state has its own protocol. And here in South Carolina, and I want to put up the South Carolina while we go through these. That way you can see exactly what they are. So here is the South Carolina Law Enforcement Division Amber Alert activation form. So this has to be filled out at some point from, I guess, the family and the police. So anyway, does law enforcement believe, you can see the checked or the boxes, those would have to be checked. Does the law enforcement agency believe that the child has been abducted, and they give you a meaning, taken from their environment unlawfully without authority of law and without permission from the child's parent or legal guardian? Next, if the child is 17 years old or younger, does the law enforcement agency believe the child is in immediate danger of serious bodily harm or death? Or if the individual is 18 years or older, does law enforcement believe the individual is at a greater risk of danger of serious bodily harm or death because that individual possesses a proven physical or mental disability? Next box, have all other possibilities for the victim's disappearance been reasonably excluded? I.e., went down to this, neighbor's house, playing on the, playing at the school, whatever, went fishing. Next, is there sufficient information available to disseminate to the public that could assist in locating the victim, suspect, or vehicle used in the abduction? And what do they mean by that? Well, Cindy Lou is 4'2". She got blonde hair, blue eyes, wearing a pink dress, carrying a teddy bear. She had, white, plain white Converse shoes on, and she has a green watermelon backpack, something like that. I mean, that's a bona fide sufficient information. Next box. The child's name and other critical data, including the child abduction flag, have been entered into NCIC. Once it's determined, blah, 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 the entry would be modified to include the Amber Alert AA flag. So it goes from a child abduction flag to an Amber Alert flag. They have to input the NCIC number on this form. And the final requirement, and it's in bold red, has your chief / sheriff approved. Seems pretty straightforward. I would imagine you would agree. That's a pretty straightforward document right there. Not a whole lot of questions. I would say that it doesn't say anywhere that all of the boxes have to be checked, so it becomes subjective. But I would imagine that the common sense thinking person would say the majority of boxes have to be checked. As grown adults, we understand the meaning between abduction, kidnapping, runaway, etc. We understand that as grown adults. On February 16th at approximately 0850, Beaufort Police Department were dispatched for a report of a, quote, runaway juvenile. 12-year-old Beaufort girl Emily Hollis was last seen around 21:30 the evening before by her parents prior to going to bed. Again, a common happening. We tuck our children into bed. At 12 years old, there's really no reason to go in and check on her unless she cried out for mom or dad or whatever. Normal night in bed. You put the child to bed. Eventually, you go to bed. You get up in the morning. According to the press release, or a press release by the Beaufort Police Department, they, quote, immediately began canvassing the area after, obviously, that they showed up to, they were dispatched to this report. They canvassed the area, checking locations commonly known to her, and did not find her anywhere. They then said they found evidence at the home left behind by the 12-year-old. Police then stated they thought she was in the presence of or had left with a 16-year-old male named Chase Eskeets of Beaufort. 12-year-old little girl, 16-year-old teenage young man. Now, let's stop right there for a second. There's a lot of things in between, in the middle of all this. But let's stop right there for a second. A 12-year-old little girl with a 16-year-old young man, that is not a runaway. I have 4 daughters. They're all grown. I have 6 granddaughters and 5 grandsons. If any of my daughters at the 12-year-old mark were with a 16-year-old male, yes, I would have come unglued. But that is not a runaway. A 16-year-old young man and a 12-year-old little girl do not share the same mindset. I call this an abduction if you look at the meaning of the word abduction. For those who are about to throw out, well, what if she left willingly with him? I've heard that over the last several days. Again, she's 12 years old. He is 16 years old. I don't care if she willingly left. She does not have, or a child, not just her, a child of 12 years old does not have the mental capacity to make the decision to leave with a 16-year-old. Back to the story, Beaufort Police Department released sometime later that they believe the young man was driving a white 2008 Nissan Titan truck and were believed to be in the Jacksonville, Florida area. Now, this is sometime later. Again, let's go to a full stop here. So now we have a child who is 12 years old, is with a 16-year-old male across 2 state lines. How can they possibly think this is a runaway? I honestly do not comprehend that. Mark, hey, Mark. Mark says, thank you for covering this. There's nothing short of a complete failure of the Beaufort Police Department. Failure to follow procedures, failure to follow commonly used police practices, and failure to be a decent human being. A 12-year-old has zero ability to consent to volunteer or do anything in the eyes of the law. A 16-year-old, however, is of age to give consent to several things in the eyes of the law. Thanks, Mark. Appreciate those comments. And I'm right there with you. Again, we want to hear from you all tonight. So anyway, even if the 12-year-old said, I mean, in black and white, point blank, I am running away, she is with a 16-year-old male. It is my opinion, and it's just my opinion, that notification, that assumption, that realization that this 12-year-old little girl is with a 16-year-old male, possibly in 2 states away from where she lives and he has possession of a vehicle, police should have immediately turned up the heat on this into an abduction. If you didn't do it at the top, at least by now, this should have been turned up into an abduction. So moving on. And we're going days. Jacksonville police and sheriffs were notified, etc., like 3 days later, February 19th, around 4 p.m. It came out that they were found and in custody of the Florida Highway Patrol. They were found, the boy and the 12-year-old girl, in the custody of the Florida Highway Patrol. So let me look at this for a second. We're going to unpack how all that happened. First of all, I have a serious question for Beaufort Police Chief Stephanie Price. Why did you not turn this into an abduction immediately once you knew there was a 16-year-old male in a vehicle, now possibly in Florida, with a 12-year-old little girl? Why? It's been reported to us that Chief Price, and this, listen to this. It's been reported to us that Chief Price asked the parents of the young lady, the little girl, once sources came out with the possibility of her being in Jacksonville. This is what sources told us, and this is just allegedly, until someone can come forward and say they were there and heard it or have it on video. But the sources are saying that the question was asked by the chief of police, why are you here and not in Jacksonville? If that's true, it's saying this to the parents. If that is true, that alone is grounds for termination without anything else. If you ask the parents, well, why are you here and not in Jacksonville if you know she's there with a 16-year-old? That also would cause me to become apoplectic. Full stop, Chief. Full stop. It's allegedly. If this is true, what on earth are you doing in law enforcement? I mean, that is provoking that's a statement of provoking and promoting something akin to vigilantism. Is it not? Hey boys, why y'all here? They're down there in Jacksonville. Let's ride up. Regulators, let's go. Now, a video was made from an unknown source of the father of this 12-year-old girl on the 18th. I guess that would be the day before she was found. I want to show you this video. There is some rather important information the dad is going to say. You're going to hear in this video. I want you to take a listen. We're going to share this with you. Let's do this. And I want you to take a listen.
My daughter, Emily, is missing. She's been missing since Sunday morning, the 16th, since 8 o'clock in the morning is when we reported. She's been missing since February 15th at 10 o'clock at night. We haven't had any updates to her whereabouts since yesterday at 2:49 p.m. in Jackson, Florida. I would like to thank all the strangers that have, people I don't know, that have helped and looked and texted and rode around Florida looking for all the people that have texted Autumn or my phone or Messenger. And you just got to thank you. It's just the only reason I'm saying thank you is because writing, I'm completely grateful for everything that you're doing and being a part of is too much to text for the countless amount of people that I've talked to. So that's what thank you means.
Okay. Kyle, this morning you and your wife, or last night, did a live video
Yes, ma'am.
pleading for help and expressing that you didn't feel that you were getting the help
Correct.
from local authorities. What was the reaction to the video that you received?
The reaction was that a lot of former Beaufort Police Department and former county sheriffs reached out to me and Autumn, and then local officials started responding, and state officials started responding to the post and reaching out towards us.
With the local police department in the beginning, what were you told as far as investigating your daughter missing?
When they got here around 8:15 Sunday morning, we had an awesome officer, Officer Miller, took our information. He got it. He took our information. He was really awesome with us. I felt everything was being taken care of. He let us know if we found anything out, no matter how pertinent. We needed to contact the non-emergency number, provide them the case number, and it'd be sent out and then be put into a report. Didn't matter how impertinent, how whatever. And that's what I did. I didn't want to be burdensome, so I always waited until I had enough information that I knew it would be pertinent and worth giving to them. So I wasn't calling them every 10, 15 minutes.
Right. Okay. And when did you find out that the Beaufort Police Department did not investigate runaways?
Last night.
Okay. That's what led you to a meeting this morning?
Yes, that's prior to the video. I had found out that they're not investigating, that there's no updates to give, and that's when I lost it. And and then after the video, local councilman got involved and wanted to have a meeting between myself, the police chief, the city manager, and him, and have a sit down in the morning, this morning at 10:30.
How did you feel in reference to the meeting? Did you feel like you made any progress, or?
I was, like I was telling the people that were here, I was excited and nervous at the same time, because after talking to people, I know this has happened before with other people with the Beaufort PD. And I knew that if I was sitting down with somebody, that maybe they'll start investigating for my daughter, and something would be done more than that happened. Maybe some accountability, maybe somebody saying that, I'm sorry, we messed up. We're going to do this right now. It's not what happened.
Okay. So is it safe to say that you don't feel that Beaufort law enforcement is being very proactive with your daughter's case?
Up until now,
Okay.
no. Yeah.
Okay. I know that throughout the day, there's been some conversation with someone at Beaufort Police Department that was handed the case and told to look into it.
Yes.
What was her response when asked about putting an Amber Alert out?
So do you want me to go to the whole story between the meeting and to her response? When we met at the meeting between everybody this morning, the councilman brought up an Amber Alert. Why hasn't there an Amber Alert been done? And the police chief and myself explained that there's a whole list of things that has to be clicked. Everything, all boxes have to be filled before it can be an Amber Alert. Because if there's one no, it can't be done, because if it wasn't, I understand that there would be Amber Alerts going off 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and the Amber Alert would be pointless.
Mhm.
I understand that. But the councilman said that I'm in contact with the boy's parents, and they're willing to say that that Emily is in imminent danger, with the mother's willing to say in the conference room, we were a conference call, willing to be on a conference call and say that she is in imminent danger with him, and the uncle was willing to be in imminent danger. Will that change anything? And she said no.
Okay.
And when I talked to the lieutenant today, and I asked her about changing the Amber Alert, that we had been in contact with the FBI, and the FBI said that they could change the Amber Alert. She said that and when I explained to her that the police chief said no, the lieutenant said that this is coming from her and I can't go over her head.
So the police chief declined to have an Amber Alert.
She declined getting evidence from the boy's parents at the meeting that we had to have a conference call to change it from not being an Amber Alert to imminent danger to being imminent danger. Yes.
What were you told by Beaufort in reference to having Emily upgraded to endangered?
That it's not going to make a difference. That she's still, it doesn't matter. They tried to tell me that the verbiage doesn't matter. Me being private military, I know verbiage 100% matters.
It does.
It changes priority depending on the words being used. It changes the priorities of whatever's being done. I don't know the details of how that works, but I do understand how verbiage works when it comes to official documents and everything else.
I know you had said that you were asked by authorities why you were not already in Florida. Is there anything you would like to say regarding why you are still here in Beaufort and not in Florida? And also maybe how you felt by what was said.
The online trolls are nothing. I don't care how miserable do you have to be to talk crap about somebody's missing child. I feel more sorry for you than anything else. You're talking crap. I don't care. Your words don't matter to me. But when I was sitting down in the meeting, and the first time we were about to wrap up, and she asked if there were any more questions, I said, I don't think I have any more. She looked at me and said, you know what? I'm going to ask the question that no one here has asked. Why are you not in Florida right now? I'm a parent. I would be in Florida right now. And then she went around the room and asked every single one of them who were parents if they would be in Florida. If this was their kid, would they be in Florida? And everyone, of course, said, I'd be in Florida. I'd be in Florida. I'd been told by a sheriff's officer in Florida that I don't need to come. It was right before, it was in the middle of my meltdown. He was on the phone with us that said coming to Florida would be pointless. I needed to get it on media and put this out for what the local police department is doing. I need to get on them social media and let them know of what's actually going on. And that's what led to the thing. And prior to that, we had talked to the National Missing Children and Runaways, and they said there's no point for us to go to Florida because if we get there, they could be on their way back to back to Beaufort, or they could be heading to Alabama. And now we're just traveling and not getting in here anywhere, and we're just chasing our tails. We need to be at a command post. So we sent, my in-laws volunteered to go to Florida to be a resource there in Jacksonville. And they said, well, the police chief was like, well, why is your in-laws down there doing it if their father would put more pressure on them than the in-laws can?
Did you feel with that statement as though you were being told, we're sorry, we're not going to do anything, you're going to have to handle this yourself?
I've felt that this entire time.
Okay.
We're going to end that
All right.
right here. There's a lot of items to unpack with that. Hey, Jennifer, glad to see you watching. Yes, that is giving permission to handle business, if you know what I'm saying. I know what you're saying. Is that really what they want? So, let's unpack that a little bit. And I said earlier that the statement that we were told and that you just heard is allegedly. I want to know, and I say that because there's a fine line, legal line to walk here in accusing and so forth. I want to know if that was Chief Stephanie Price. I want to know if that was Lieutenant. Her last name used to be Brubaker. It just slipped. I think it's Mendocino. I want to know who said that exactly, because it is reprehensible to say that to a parent and then to go around the room and say it. That is beyond reprehensible. And yes, that is promoting some kind of vigilantism. Let's, round them up and go take care of business. Shortly after all this, the notice came out that they were found. Beaufort Police Department released a statement that, and I'm sure this is the PIO, that they, quote, wanted to thank their officers for the diligent investigative efforts as well as blah, blah, blah. They went on about other departments helping and so forth. From the people we've spoken to, the videos we've watched, I'm sorry, but the City of Beaufort Police Department did not do anything remotely close to that. We've had someone else contact us, asked to not be identified, said the chief asked everyone in the room if they would have already been in Jacksonville, etc. Again, I want to hear from someone in the room that it was Chief Stephanie Price or Lieutenant Mendocino or whomever. I want to know who said that. I also want to know, was the city councilman in that room? Was the city manager in that room? Who was there? So let me go back just a little bit. Why was the Amber Alert not issued? Even, again, I'm going to say this till I'm blue in the face. Even if at the outset they thought it may be a runaway, which I would imagine, having been in police and fire and EMS communications before, if it was called in as a runaway, and if you're a frantic parent, fortunately, this doesn't happen a lot, I hope. But if you're in a frantic state of mind, my child's gone, my child's run away. I mean, I don't know how quick, but if that came in that way, I'm sure that's how it was dispatched. Anyway, even though at the outset, if it was called in as a runaway, even though it was a 12-year-old little girl, and they found out it was a 16-year-old male, who I'll get to his name here in a second, they then, at that very moment, when it came out that, hey, well, she didn't run away by herself, she's with a 16-year-old male in a truck, they should have followed exactly what we read to you and what this father was talking about, and they should have filed the damn Amber Alert right away. Beaufort Police Department don't investigate runaways? That is preposterous. That is dereliction of duty. It is a crime on a juvenile scale to run away. That is not something that doesn't have repercussions. Okay? In Savannah, it's not uncommon every day, every other day, Chatham and Effingham counties and the city of Savannah to have a reported runaway like every day. They get investigated. That's what you do. If it is standard operating procedure, and I hope the people in the city council of Beaufort are listening to this. I hope the mayor's watching this. I hope the city manager's watching this. And God help us, I hope that the chief of police is watching. If your standard operating procedure is that we don't investigate runaways, you need to quit. You need to get out of this business, because you're hurting people by not investigating runaways. Well, they happen all the time. And so what? So what? That is your job. So, again, reports coming into us are that the chief of police would not sign off the Amber Alert and is quoted as telling the girl's parents, "We do not have any reason to think she is in danger," allegedly. Is that what you said, Chief Price? You don't have any reason to think she's in danger with a 16-year-old male in a pickup truck, possibly 2 states away? Why, no. Why would she be in danger? And now we have a written post from the people who actually saw the truck and called about this. Wait till you see this. Let's share this screen. Amy, and I don't know if her last name is pronounced Foe or Foul. I apologize. I know I'm butchering that, so I deeply apologize. On Sunday morning, while having our coffee, I saw a post about a young girl who was missing from Beaufort. She's 12 years old with a boy who was 16. Now, I'm not going to read all of this. I'm going to give you the background. Amy and her husband and family were on vacation in St. Augustine. She's having Sunday morning coffee. Prior to that, she had heard about, or she saw this post rather, and there was tons of them, about Emily Hollis, the 12-year-old girl, missing. She says, the entire day I thought about her mom and dad, what they must be going through, and she prayed. That is not uncommon, especially for a mother, to see this, to read this, to feel the feeling of loss of child. She went on to say when they headed home, as they grew closer to the Jacksonville area, she went back and riding down the road, went back and looked at the posts and the memory, and they have the on some of the posts there is the tag of the truck. As they're driving, her husband Dan said, "Well, there's a black Nissan Titan." And 5 minutes later, Dan said, "Look, there's a white Nissan Titan 4x4. It was in the median off in the grass southbound." This was on I-95. Amy said she looked for a mile marker, could not see the license plate in totality other than it was a white Nissan Titan 4x4. Frantically, this particular lady, Amy, called Beaufort police while on the road. Yes, hindsight's 2020. Probably calling Jacksonville 911 would have been better, but that's neither here nor there. But here's what happened. She called the Beaufort police to report that, hey, I'm in Florida. We were going northbound, but southbound, we just saw a white Nissan early model Nissan Titan 4x4 in the median in the grass. So she goes on to say when she called the police, she was transferred 3 times. Each time, she said, "I'm calling about the missing girl." According to Amy I'm sorry. She was told by Beaufort police, "What missing girl? We don't have information on a missing girl." Transferred those 3 times. She was then transferred again to the South Carolina Highway Patrol. She said that the woman on the other end of the phone took her information down and had an officer call her. Speaking to this officer, she was told he was calling the Florida Highway Patrol. So what that means is South Carolina Highway Patrol has a separate dispatch, okay? Just like Georgia. That dispatch called a trooper. A trooper called her. He said, this needs to go to Florida. And she was told he was going to call the Florida Highway Patrol. The problem here, and by the time she got home, she found out that the young lady, the little girl, had been found. The problem here is this, and I want to say, along with everybody, thank you to Amy and Dan for being so conscientious of your surroundings. The problem here is, why did the police say, "What missing girl? We don't have information on a missing girl." When speaking with Amy over text, she said to me that she kept saying missing and not a runaway. While I get that, and believe me, I get that. I understand she feels like she said is a missing girl when they were told it was a runaway. Missing is synonymous to the overreaching subject of a missing child. Runaway, missing, they're gone. They're no aki. They're gone. This is what this is. This is an abstract failure of law enforcement communications at the very basic and minute level. Basic, minute levels of failure after failure after failure in communication. It started at the chief of police and has gone all the way down to the communications people, to Chief Price. And let me be perfectly clear with you. Any 12-year-old little girl who is with a 16-year-old male is in danger. We don't let our 12-year-old little girls be alone with 16-year-old boys, young men. Not if you are a realist, not if you are a parent who wants the best for your child. I guess if you don't give a shit, then you'll let your 12-year-old hang out with an 18-year-old. Do you think, well, before I go to that, I'm still talking to Chief Price here. Trafficking, drugs, murder is out of control in Beaufort County. You know this, Chief Price. You know this. Do you think in any state of your mind, Chief Price, that it is okay for a 12-year-old little girl to be with a 16-year-old male alone and then finding out they're out of state? Is that okay? Well, more investigations going on this has revealed that the young man, the 16-year-old young man, name is Chase Eskeets, also a Beaufort, allegedly did not even have a driver's license, per an informant. We were also given information that this may, and I only say may or allegedly, this may not have been the first time this has happened. So where do we go now? Well, something needs to be done, starting with the chief of police of the city of Beaufort. I reached out to the PIO of the city police department and have not been given a phone call, an email, a text, any reply. I gave them all my contact. I'm probably one of the easiest people to find in this county. I have reached out to the chief herself, no reply. I reached out to City Councilman Josh Scalati and have asked if he or council is planning on having some sort of investigation into the chief Why? Because this was a 12-year-old little girl who, again, was with a 16-year-old male in a vehicle that he didn't have proper authority to use, or possibly not even a driver's license. And once it came out that she might be in danger, who the boy's father said he would admit to, this turned from what could be a possible runaway to an immediate abduction. Plain and simple. If children, that's what I told the councilman, if children cannot be protected by law enforcement, where are we in this society? That's a question that you can ask yourself and your elected law enforcement leaders, who I love. Let me make sure I don't want to misinterpret anything. I back the blue like you don't know. I'm closer to the blue than 99% of you even know. I support our police, fire, EMS, 911 dispatchers like you just don't know. But this, if children can't be protected by law enforcement, plain and simple, where are we in this society? I reached out to the city manager, Scott Marshall. Now, Marshall replied with, quote, "I've reviewed their runaway protocol and the actions taken in this case. I'm confident that proper procedure was followed, and fortunately, both children were found safe and unharmed," end quote. Now, I know Mr. Marshall, and I know him personally. I've known him for a long time. I know his family, his wife, and him. I'm dismayed, and I'm a little surprised, Scott. I'm dismayed that, quote, "I'm confident proper procedure was followed," end quote, was the answer, because that is, and you guessed it, ladies and gentlemen, the wrong answer. I would imagine after tonight's show, City Manager Marshall is wishing he could have eaten those words and changed that. Furthermore, if it were true that proper procedure was followed, if that is true, ladies and gentlemen, if you live in the city of Beaufort, you have an even bigger problem than you're aware of. What else? I believe there needs to be some tightening of the laws in South Carolina surrounding Amber Alerts, and even possibly a different kind of alert. I mean, we already have silver alerts for missing adults and elderly. We have blue alerts for state agencies in needing assistance on an Amber Alert. And we have clear alerts. And the clear alerts are for adults 18 to 64 who may be in some kind of imminent danger. You don't hear about those very much. So maybe it is time for some enhancement to our greatest, most precious asset, our children. Maybe it's time for that. Maybe we need to tighten that belt, tweak that a little bit. Yes, Jennifer, I agree. I'm not surprised. I'm shocked. It's a shock and awe out of the mouths of bureaucrats and others. Again, if there is a well-defined runaway, the authorities cannot issue Amber Alerts, as that would, again, as I said earlier, dilute the impetus or the urgency of true Amber Alerts of abduction or kidnapping. Emily's father said the same thing. Not everything can have an Amber Alert because it'll lose its sting. It won't be taken seriously. It's the wolf who cried all the time, or you know what I'm saying? The pig who cried wolf. But the parameters have to be strengthened. In common sense, God forbid we use common sense when dealing with this. Part of the investigation into the chief, and this is my opinion, should also be the oversight by city council into the standard operation or the standard operating procedures into and of this issue. Absolutely, Cassidy. Cassidy says, "I've heard some pretty damning stuff, but it's alleged." I'm right there with you. What else should be done? People should not be afraid to call for an Amber Alert. People, if you're afraid to call the police, my God, we have some serious problems. You should not be afraid to get involved or think that retribution is going to be coming from law enforcement if you do. Again, if that is where they, and I mean law enforcement, are in the city of Beaufort, it's time to clean even more of the house. The bigger picture here's the bigger picture, is the word trafficking. I honestly, deep down in every corner of my soul, I honestly do not believe any of the city councils in this county, nor the county council totally, in totality, I do not believe any of them totally understand this. Maybe they're being told, and I say maybe because I've actually heard this, it's not a thing here. It's really not a thing. So tourism is not affected. If there is, I'm telling you right now, if there is or are any elected officials or appointed officials saying that, please let me know. Please let me know. I will gladly help them become famous really quick. Trafficking is a major problem in this county. Drug trafficking is a major problem in this county. Sex trafficking is a major problem in this county. Beaufort County House of Cards and BigPatriotRadio.com has been at the forefront of leading the conversation about this for like going on 3 years. Now, was this little girl a victim of trafficking? I would hope by now there's some kind of investigation going on, especially since Chase Eskeets didn't have allegedly a driver's license and allegedly using a truck that wasn't his and didn't have authority to use it. Went across 2 state lines with a 12-year-old. It has 110% of the ingredients for her to have been. Was the little girl a victim of trafficking? I don't know. The investigation, I hope, is still going on. But it has 110% of the ingredients for her to have been a victim of this. We denying this. If you deny drug trafficking, sex trafficking, child trafficking, labor trafficking, drug trafficking, if you deny this, you are just as reprehensible as those who say in law enforcement or in elected officials or bureaucrats, you're just as bad. We have brought forward stories over the years of girls, mainly. It's not only girls. There are little boys who get trafficked also, but it is mainly girls, the majority. Anyway, who have been caught up in the trafficking ring. One especially that comes to mind. Hey, Lee, amen on cleaning house and local police. Lee says, choosing not to investigate is a huge problem. I've lived it, reported it. You're one of the few, Mike, who've tried to help. Thank you so much, Lee, and thank you for what you do as well. One of the stories we brought forward over the years, you may remember this. I can't get it out of my head for many reasons, was one young lady who called out Alex Murdaugh himself, along with powerful people in the golf world, i.e. Augusta National and the Heritage in Harbortown, politics, local, state, federal, law enforcement, local and state, entertainment, and more, all across the Low Country. You remember that story? She was trying to make ends meet, got caught up. She was dancing at an establishment, and that led into someone grabbing her and molding her. All of a sudden, she was having to perform sex acts, being trafficked by someone who hunted her down, by the way, physically beating her if she did not come back. We heard it from her mouth. I have seen this personally through some work I've done in Chatham County that bled over to Jasper County and Beaufort County over the years. I've seen it. I've seen the faces. We had Sheila Romling on, the local expert when it comes to trafficking and what to do and how to help prevent it and how to heal these people, these young people, whether they're children, teens, or young adults. Right, Cassidy? So let's keep reimagining Rebo Road because that's an important thing to do. This brings me to provide you with some information so we can do something about this. I'm going to bring you some information so we can do something about this. Real quick, it's top of the hour, 8 o'clock here on BigPatriotRadio.com and Beaufort County's House of Cards.
Everything that rocks is right here. Right here.
Let's rock.
With Big Patriot Radio.
That's what I'm talking about.
we're going to help do something to let's try to do something about this. I want you to take a picture or take a look at a picture of what I'm going to show you. Write it down, take a photo of your screen, replay this or whatever. This first piece of information I think I'm going to put up here is which one are we doing first here? Let's go here and here. This is the website for the National Human Trafficking Hotline. There's the number, 1-888-373-7888. 1-888-373-7888. You can text them at star 233-733. Their website is humantraffickinghotline.org. This group is involved in tracking down traffickers. They're involved in finding those who have been coerced into, whether it's drugs, traffic, drug, labor, sex, whatever. Finding those children, finding those people. You see here in the statistics, 50,123 signals were received by the hotline. This is in 2021. That's calls, texts, and online chats and tips. 50,000. But we don't have a problem here. You can also go here and search for local services to help in your community. And again, the number 1-888-373-7888, star 233-733, humantraffickinghotline.com. These are the sites that are super necessary for you to get involved in this. The next one is the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children. National Center for Missing and Exploited Children. Here is their site. Their number is 1-800-843-5678. 24 hours a day. 1-800-843-5678. Otherwise known as 1-800-THE-LOST. 1-800-THE-LOST. You can go to their reporting site that you see here. That's report.cybertip.org. You can go to missingkids.org. Here you can report the incident that's going on. This is all anonymous. You can go into more. There's all kinds of things you can get into and learn about the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children. 1-800-THE-LOST. 1-800-843-5678. These are the type of places that we need to surround ourselves. We know 911 off the top of our head. We should know this. This number should be by or in our cell phones now, in our tablets. 1-800-THE-LOST, 888-373-7888. We should know this stuff. Now, we believe that we had learned during this investigation, and I think the father may even said this, we learned that someone from the little girl's family had called, I believe it was the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, and was told it was a holiday, and tomorrow, okay, because it was Sunday, Monday was a holiday, that was President's Day, and it would have to wait till Tuesday, I guess, something to that effect. Now, that too is not acceptable. That is not acceptable on any level. We have reached out, this station has reached out to Congresswoman Nancy Mace, who is trying to work her schedule to come on this show for another reason, to talk about iron shaping iron and Nancy Mace's full-on scorched earth tour. But this is more important. I expect to hear back from her very soon on this. We've also reached out to some of our friends in the Beaufort delegation up in the State House, in the House and the Senate, in an attempt to tighten up some of the South Carolina Code of Laws, just to let them beware that rather than wait on them, I have already been speaking with some folks. We're going to put together some ideas. We're going to look at South Carolina Code of Law as it sits currently and try to craft something to tighten this up a little bit, to if at anything, not allow law-wise what happened to Emily Harris happen anywhere else. The problem with the police, if all of that is true, that we've painted this picture, that needs to be taken care of by city council and staff. And that snowball may get bigger and bigger. But the overall arching problem of the legality of all this, we're going to hopefully tighten some of this up. Now, Big Patriot Radio and the House of Cards remains committed, even more so now than ever, to do our part to investigate these types of actions, these happenings, miscomings, misfeasance of malfeasance of duty, whatever you want to call it, in the attempt to help keep children alive, even if it's just one. It's one. If you want to be a part of that and help us, there's the email, bigpatriotradio@gmail.com, bigpatriotradio@gmail.com. We're also committed, bigpatriotradio@gmail.com. We are also committed. Let me see if I can find this. This should be on. Yes, it's right here. Let's pull this up and bear with me 1 second. We are also committed to spreading the word about missing children. I never thought about, resharing these. It just didn't dawn on me. That changes tonight. We are going to be involved in help spreading the word about missing children. This young lady right here, 15-year-old Kamaya Jenkins, has been missing. As of February 19th, police believe, and the sheriff's department believes, she may be somewhere in the Low Country or even in the Grand Strand. Investigators now believe she could also possibly be in Charleston, again, up to Myrtle Beach. Kamaya is 5'5", 110 pounds. She has distinctive orange-colored hair. What you see in the bottom picture, those are long braids. She doesn't have that anymore. Her hair is shorter now. They say it is orange in it's short, okay, and it's orange. She was reported missing on February 7th in Ladies Island. Her caregiver reported seeing her the evening before around 10 o'clock. The following morning, Kamaya was no longer at the home, nor were any of her personal effects. You can call. This is a new hotline, Tips Beaufort. That's 844-TIPS-BFT. That's 844-847-7238. Take a screenshot of this, what you see on front of you, TIPSBFT.com. That's the new Crime Stoppers app that the Beaufort County Sheriff's Department and the Law Enforcement Communications uses that is now more secure from my understanding. But let's try to spread the word. Let's try to find this Kamaya young lady Kamaya Jenkins of Beaufort and get her home safe and sound. And that is like I said, that is our commitment to you. Because this has got to stop.
Let's go! The station that keeps it rocking 24/7.
Ladies and gentlemen,
BigPatriotRadio.com.
And we're not done with the Chase of Skeets digging in. We're going to be digging into some more information. We want to learn more about him, his family, what is true and what isn't true. I mean, if you know what I'm saying. So you got to be on the level. We are 100% on the level. We've been digging in some other folks and some other concerns, and there's a bigger story here, and we're going to be letting that story out as we learn about it. Anyway, last week we told you about an investigation into Blue Hour Housing and their attempt to work on the Hilton Head Island, and we want to say thank you again to Megan Fitzgerald of Hilton Head, who came on and gave a very informative insight into this. Wanted to update you that I reached out, and I may have told you that I was going to, but I did. I reached out to the CEO of Blue Hour Housing, and some of this happened while I was on the air with you. He actually replied, and he said, sure, love to chat on your show about what we do, but need to first talk on the phone, sort of thing, he said to me. He did this during the show, and if you go back and look at the show, you'll see where I'm on my phone trying to talk and do, 3 things at once. So I couldn't call him because I was on the air with you. I told him, what I wanted, and that I would call him after the show. I was upfront with what I was going to ask him, what we want to talk about, as I am with everybody. 15 minutes later, he replied. I was about 15 minutes after the show was over. He said, unfortunately, we won't be able to oblige your request to talk about Blue Hour and anything we're doing on Hilton Head Island, South Carolina, end quote. I was like, well, slap my ass and call me silly. That is about as simple of a I got you statement that I've ever heard.
Bringing you the best selection of hits for your listening pleasure.
Yeah, so let's get into it.
BigPatriotRadio.com.
All right. Thank you to everyone. Thank you to everyone who tuned in tonight via live stream and later through the on-demand program. Again, help try to reach our 2,000 stars mark. You can go right now and send stars on Facebook to help support the show. Go to the Facebook links, like the page, send some stars, right down to Venmo. It's right there. It's going by right about now, and help support the show. Your generosity, again, helps keep us bringing in new stories and investigating them as well. We're going to be back next Thursday for another Beaufort County's House of Cards. We're going to go deeper into stories from all across the Low Country and South Carolina. Hopefully, and I got a feeling, we're going to have a little bit more input to share with you on this Emily Hollis abduction, in my view. That story, we'll have that. Don't forget to tell a friend. Hit the like button, follow us, and stay in touch with us. There's going to be a whirlwind or more of stories. And we're going to share what is going to blow your mind. Until then, be safe. Watch your step.